So as you know, for the second part of Component 1, you have to study a full edition of each of the two case study newspapers, Daily Mirror and the Times. That is, and of course, in addition to the two Theresa May Brexit front pages that you study as case studies for Section A in terms of their media language and representations. So what I'm going to do, I have chosen this particular issue of the Daily Mirror, Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023, and join me as we delve inside the newspaper and I take you on a journey right from front to back as we look at the kind of thing that you will find in the newspaper and the kind of ways that information might help us navigate the exam. So on the front page, we find the usual conventions of a popular newspaper, masthead, current tagline celebrating their status as Newspaper of the Year in some awards or other. Main splash is a story, obviously a very, very sad story that has had huge coverage in the newspapers over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that, of course, is the disappearance of Nicola Bulley. Tragically, this case reached a conclusion a couple of days ago when they did actually discover Nicola's body. Yesterday, a statement released by her family, and this in response to that discovery, and this provides the quote for the main headline: "She was the centre of our world." The first person plural determiner there, showing that it is the family's words that are being used. We have the now, sadly, tragically familiar picture of Nicola Bulley with the caption "Tragedy, Nicola was in the river." And this is, of course, a classic story for the popular press. Very personal, emotional, emotive. We can see by the strapline, Nicola family's anguish, very emotive noun, anguish, heartbreaking tribute to River Death Mum 45, another emotive adjective in heartbreaking, typical journalese with that phrase River Death Mum, a little bit cold and callous, but that's the world of newspapers for you. But yeah, classic, very typical popular news story. This, as we will see eventually, will also be covered in the Times, but in a slightly different way. Above the strapline to the left, we have TV Dan glad to be alive after crash. TV presenter Dan Walker came off his bike in a skirmish with a car yesterday. Seems to come off it pretty badly. And we're told there is an exclusive on page 7, which I think is maybe testing the limits of the word exclusive, considering that Dan Walker himself posted this picture of him with his bloody nose on Twitter pretty much immediately after the accident yesterday. To the right of that, the Daily Mirror, as they have been for a couple of years now, desperate to get us crossing the threshold into the bookies and offering us a free £2 shot bet, not an online bet, shot bet, this time with William Hill, and they're promoting this on the back of the clash which is due to take, or was, depending on when you're watching this, listening to this, due to take place on the evening of Tuesday, the February the 21st, between Liverpool and Real Madrid in the Champions League. We have the two iconic centre-forwards of the two sides, Mo Salah and Karim Benzema. If I'm not, but if I was going to wager my £2 shot bet, I'd put it on Madrid myself, but, by now we will know whether I would have squandered that £2 or not. And above that, we have the £2 shot bet, the Dan Walker, the flipping brilliant Pancake Day ideas. Did you see what they did there with the flipping pancakes? Yeah. These we could call the skyline. They're there to attract readers, to offer that promise of more content in the pages of the newspaper. And that's the front page, very conventional, very sad main story on Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023. Let's delve inside the covers. And page 2, what do we find here? Down the left, we have a 10-minute mini crossword. We have the weather. We have a money tip of the day. We have the lottery numbers. We have corrections and complaints. This is something that reminder that the newspaper is IPSO regulated, and this is something that a lot of newspapers do now. I think it was initially led by The Guardian, in that they are trying to offer an immediate means of correction and clarification for any stories. Of course, what the newspapers are doing here is always looking to stave off the threat of statutory regulation. In other words, regulation that is prescribed by the government, by law. 72-hour junior dock strike, AMBO action stroke snub row. So we've got some stories to do with ambulance workers, doctors. Obviously, we are very much in the thick of a strike season. I'm possibly on strike today. I better check the calendar, actually, myself. We're out this, that and the other at the moment. And safety risk over chem weapon lab pay dispute. Another pay row, this time at Porton Down Chemical Weapons Research Lab. So 3 sort of interlinked stories there. Page 3, Patsy Kensit weds. She was a pop star in the 80s, TV star I think now, and at one point wife of Oasis frontman Liam Gallagher. That marriage I think didn't survive the test of time, but it was there for a while. Patsy Kensit weds 5th husband, other celebs who racked up multiple marriage. This is what I would probably call soft news. We have a little guide here to various celebs who have sort of walked up and down the aisle numerous times, including Richard Pryor 7 times, Zsa Gabor 9 times. The sort of story that very much appeals, I would say, to an older audience. Remember that newspapers these days, as a paper product, are very much the preserve of an older demographic. We're talking 35 plus. We're probably even talking 45 and 55 plus if we're being strictly honest. And the nature of these celebrities, really, Dame get there eventually, Dame Joan Collins, Mickey Rooney, Zsa Gabor, these are not celebrities I think that are resonating with with you. If you're watching this and planning to do your exam, they're going to resonate with a much, much older audience. And over we go on to page 4, and we have the TikTok logo. TikTok users are turned hunt into circus, and we are back with the Nicola Bulley story that the newspaper splashed with. Again, words in the headline, "Now we can let you rest." Words taken from the family's very sort of sad, moving statement from the day before. And this is a story, of course, that has aroused a lot of media interest. Not all of it sort of very healthy, really, and that's some of it led by, I think, in that statement, the family themselves sort of picked out ITN and Sky News as culprits here, but there's been a lot of sort of wild speculation and conjecture online on Facebook and TikTok. People sort of, have basically I think COVID conspiracy theorists found a new conspiracy to get their teeth into. We have an advert for the McSpicy, would recommend there as well. So a double page spread on the Nicola Bulley story. Over the page we have the voice of the Mirror, the editorial columns, with a little bit of laughter down at the bottom. Why zebras have stripes? I tried polka dots, they made my bum look big. Yeah, just a quick pause for the laughter there. And again, we have a story about Labour London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who is following in the footsteps of Marcus Rashford, not by scoring in a run of games in the Premier League, but by offering free meals to children. This is a story here linking to Sweden. Look at the Mirror campaigning free school meals for all. That badge of the Mirror as a campaigning newspaper, very much, remember, this is a newspaper of the left that supports the Labour Party alone among popular newspapers. Only The Guardian joins them from the sort of quality sector of the market in being a supporter of the Labour Party. Very much a campaigning newspaper. We go over onto page 7. It's a minor story, sadly. Second quake hits devastated Turkey and Syria. Just shows us news values, how stories can sort of drift down the news agenda if they're not sort of close enough to us. There's Dan Walker. I was out cold for 20 minutes. This exclusive if you don't have access to Twitter. Another range of stories, a full sweep of stories that we're getting here. Little pub quiz again. Newspapers giving us that little, as well as information, just giving us a little bit of entertainment. Bubbly boy killed on his way to prayers. Another very emotive story. Personal human interest stories are the lifeblood of the popular press. And here, Pure Evil, a very emotive response to the story of victims of Jake Davidson. I think he went on a killing spree in Plymouth. We have, again, another range of stories. We're away now. We're on page 9. We're racing through the Daily Mirror here. And here we go now. We're on page 10. And again, here we are with the Mirror, with that sort of campaigning hat on, the caring, compassionate newspaper that they positions themselves as. And we're here with the war in Ukraine, orphans who fled. We just want to go home. Again, notice how the headline uses the first person, allows them to speak in that emotive, direct appeal to the audience. Joe Biden, President of America, meeting Zelensky, Vladimir Zelensky, yesterday. And King Charles getting in on the act as well, telling recruits, "You're amazing." Beautiful words there. And our children's fears for dads. And as we go through here, page 12, we have our flipping delicious pancake mixes. Not sure why there's a bottle of Bailey's there, but there you go. And sort of sad, all too predictable, all too familiar story. Another goal, another torrent of racist abuse, online racism that sort of scars football media every weekend. This time, Heung-min Son of Tottenham Hotspurs, the unfortunate recipient of this stream of abuse. And we then get, we're over onto page 14 and 15. We're still reporting on the after party. After the bite, it's the after party of the BAFTAs. So we have lots of celebrities in the frocks. BAFTA Son Paul's treat for cancer hit mum. That's Paul Mescal of After Sun, and of course before that of Normal People. Of course, on-trend Kate is here. She is now apparently the reason why we're all wearing gloves. You can't tell, but I'm wearing silk gloves as I say this, and it's all because of Kate. And here we go, page 16. Famous John Terry, who of course famously slipped in Moscow that night to hand Manchester United the Champions League. No, it's not about that actually, about something else. Bit of an offer now. Over 60s go 2 for 1 at the National Trust. Again, do we need to look any further for evidence as to who the target audience, the demographic is of this newspaper and the way they see it? An offer for the National Trust, visit stately homes and gardens, rock and roll baby, for the over 60s. Ultra rock and roll baby. And here's some shots from the new forthcoming series of Call the Midwife. I know we're all sort of glued for that. I've got a calendar on my phone counting down the days to that one. And there's our free £2 bet. One used his arm, paralysed 10 years ago. It's a miracle. Some good news. We're not just got a diet of unremitting bleakness. We have some good news as well. And here's even more good news. The cast of Back to the Future reassembled. So that's good news. Are they coming back for another film? I'm not sure. I would read it, but I'm in a rush. And more range of stories. Here's some more. Who have we got here? Amanda Holden and her daughter Lexi, 17. Amanda Holden sort of showing us A, some quite a lot of fire there, and B, possibly some work done, is all I'm saying. But again, objectified views of women, part and parcel of the media world, as we know. Blackpool rocks for getaways on budgets, low-cost resorts, as Bill saw. Best budget destination is Blackpool for cash-conscious holidaymakers. No, thank you. as we go over the page, we have some politics. Rishi Sunak, you may remember him. I'm not sure if he still will be when you're listening to this, but currently the Prime Minister, and that scarecrow next to him in the green tie is Boris Johnson. You may remember him from a previous stint as Prime Minister, possibly another stint to come. Gossip Diary, some Mass Singer fluff and nonsense. And if we go through the page, win a £500 supermarket bench voucher. C2DE demographic on the whole, perhaps, being targeted to there. Peter Crouch, more celebrity news. Celebrities, again, part of the stock in trade. We've had Amanda Holden. Here's Peter Crouch and his wife, Abby Clancy, doing something, just walking, hanging out with famous former EastEnders star Sean Williamson, and now gonna do it anyway meme star. Something about zebras. More offers, this time for plants for your garden. Demographic, anybody? Puzzles, we all want some, we all like puzzles, and £75 to be won. Whoa, bargain, more puzzles. Puzzle page after puzzle page after puzzle page. So people do like their puzzles though. But newspapers are sold by many things, including cartoons and recipes and horoscopes. Always horoscopes. We'll list that out. We have the health page. Health, be your best. Don't be short-sighted about eye health. Just, again, lifestyle features that they assume the audience will be interested in. We can tell perhaps by the female eye on the page, this is perhaps targeting a female audience rather than a male one. Andy Cat the cartoon. Is this 2023 or is it 1973? Not quite sure. More health stories again. Notice the one linked to celebrity. Irish woman Sophie Morgan. B, very much targeting an older audience, cut your risk of cancer, and possibly a more female demographic. And this goes on here with the health report, which essentially is a bit of advertising here. So we've had adverts scattered throughout the paper. Here's what we call some advertorial. Dr. Miriam Stoppard is a long-standing columnist and correspondent had a long connection with the Mirror, giving advice. More education needed on becoming a sperm donor. I'll read that later. Here is Bingo, again, mirrorbingo.com, pushing us to another of the sort of endeavours that reach out to raise revenue, to raise money around the newspaper. Community Corner, so again, silly little correspondence, but ways to interact. Look at that, building a community. It's not just social media. The Mirror does this as a newspaper, and you can see by the images of my first teddy bear, my amazing artwork. We're not looking at kids here. We're looking at quite an older demographic. Problem page with Colleen Nolan of I think Loose Women fame. She may still be on it, she may not. I can't say I've checked recently. It's stressful when our kids' families all descend on us. You wouldn't like it if they didn't, though, would you, love? Then we have today's TV guide. A couple more pages of that. Oh, you can buy a souvenir bookazine of Harry Kane, all his 100 goals. Yours for a tenner. Yours for a fiver is an OK special. Charles and Camilla, A Royal Love Story. I'll order both of those later. More TV. Your voice letters page, questions, polls. Again, that sense of interactivity. Little caption competition involving the readers. So that's very important thing that they like to do. As we go towards the back of the paper, finance. The FTSE 100 index is still there, so you might associate this with paid, newspapers like the Times, more upmarket, ABC One papers, but they still have this carry this information in the Daily Mirror, even though it's buried on page 40. And then we get to the sport. Now, obviously, we should be reading this from the back page in, but we're going to read it in reverse, if you like, in the correct order, but it still feels like reverse when it comes to the sports. So we start with the snooker and a bit of golf and a bit of boxing, athletics. We've got our racing pages, all the results and what today's meetings, bit of cricket, balls, brutal, Joe Root, yet to make himself comfortable in the England setup now that he's no longer captain. Ben Stokes, a bit of rugby league, and then we get into the football, Watford 3, West Brom 2 in the Championship. And then we get kind of coverage of all the big teams. So we get an Arsenal page, we get a Chelsea page, I'll be amazed if Graham Potter is still in a job when by the time you're listening to this, but you never know. And already, even though it's only Tuesday, some big build-up for the Carabao Cup that hopefully Manchester United will be thrashing Newcastle in a few days' time. And then the big game this evening, of course, Liverpool versus Real Madrid, rerun of a Champions League final of not too long ago. Jurgen Klopp there, just about to see his teeth gleaming. Who's that behind him? Oh, it's a famous hitter of missed opportunities, Darwin Núñez. And onto the back page, and there he is again. Still can't see his teeth, but we can see his lovely repackaged hair. Jurgen Klopp, the Real torch, and to the right, Amnesty warn Qataris will use United for sports betting, sports washing, or just sport betting on the mind there, because I was drawn by another reminder of this free £2 shot bet that we can have. So there is, in full, all, how many have we got? 52 pages of today's Daily Mirror. It gives you a flavour of what you can find in the Mirror and how and who it appeals to. That's an older, often female demographic, seems to very much skew to the C2DE, but don't ignore little things like the FTSE 100 index are still in there. Okay, I'll see you soon with a guide to today's issue of the Times.